Hey there, friends and enemies, Joper here again, and today I want to talk about what happened to Marvel's Avengers. Recently, it was announced that the game is being shut down, no more new content, which is a bummer. I actually very much enjoyed the game, probably more than most. I jumped back in every time there was a new character or new content, and I always had a good time when I did so. However, the game made some critical mistakes that I feel like cost it a opportunity to be a very, very good game, and I wanted to go over all of that because the biggest issue to me, Marvel's Avengers was caught in between a very fun co-op superhero experience and a looter shooter. It just could not make up its mind on what it wanted to be, and because of that, I felt it was lacking in both areas. So jumping back to the beginning, the campaign was actually very fun. I thought it was pretty good, but as you might expect from a looter shooter, the campaign was on the shorter side. You're not going to see looter shooters and ongoing games have these 30-hour campaigns. That's just not the way it works. A lot of the resources having to go into other aspects of the game, so these campaigns are going to be 10 15 hours at most. And so because of that, people are going to blow through that fairly quickly. So what is going to carry a looter shooter or a game in that genre going forward, these ongoing games as a service? That is the end game. And that's really where we started to see some problems arise. The campaign played almost like a single player superhero game, which was a little frustrating as well, that you couldn't play that with your buddies. Like, that would have made it so much better if you could play the entire campaign co-op. And then you get into the end game and everything is almost necessary co-op. So again, there was a divide between what the game was delivering at each steps. Now, they could have also gone and had this game be a single player game with a 30-40 hour campaign. It probably would have been a banger as you play different characters. You just wouldn't have the RPG elements as much with the leveling and all that kind of good stuff. So that is another option. You could have done that as a co-op game. I think both of those would have been the better options for this particular game, and I'm going to go into that. My main reasoning being, one of the best parts about MMOs, MMO lights, looter shooters, is seeing those cool new weapons, armor, etc. on your character. Now, with these iconic superheroes, it's much harder to do. It's harder to customize these characters. Plus, as a game like this, you're going to want to capitalize on your skins, whether it's from the MCU and the crossovers that they're doing, all that kind of good stuff. So for me personally, they should have made a decision whether they wanted to embrace that. Make the game free to play, bring in these cosmetics that you're going to have, but upgrade your characters' looks in a different way, whether it's upgrade their room or on the helipad, all that kind of good stuff. You gotta have a way to customize the character and make it your own in these games, or you just make it a co-op RPG where everyone can jump in, play as different characters, and then you don't have to worry about the customization as much, and you could have made it a full $70 game and then added cosmetics on top of that in like DLC packs or something of that nature. So it just felt like the game didn't know what it wanted to be. The end game was lacking. It didn't have a raid for far too long. A raid, a dungeon, end game that stuff should be mandatory, should be ready to go early on in a game like this. Otherwise, there's no reason for people to grind the gear, get themselves ready, and really jump into the game. Because if you don't have that content ready, if you don't have something to look forward to use all this gear that you've been acquiring and you've been leveling up and all that kind of good stuff, essentially what's going to happen is there's no reason to keep going. And so that really kind of feels bad, you know? You want to jump in and play the game, but you have no incentive. You have nothing to look forward to. And that's where other models struggle as well when you have like the DLC model, because once you've leveled up all the way, there's nothing on the horizon, at least until the next DLC, which oftentimes after you beat the current one is not announced. Same thing with the Avengers. Initially, they didn't have ongoing weekly events, right? For you to level up your gear, to get new exotics, and get new legendaries, all that kind of good stuff. It was simply the content in the game. So once you kind of beat the current content a couple times and there wasn't these weekly rotating activities, it was just completely dry. And the hardest thing for a looter shooter to do, for an MMO to do, is to recover after it's kind of had a lull, right? Not many games have the goodwill in the back pocket to keep going after they've had a low point. And so we've seen it with other games as well. It's so hard to recover. Now, Destiny is a game that has low points, but its low points are higher than some of these other games' high points. So it's really a difficult comparison. And so ultimately, I feel like the problems that the game had, the model that it used as far as not being fully seasonal, not being free to play, not being either co-op RPG, not knowing what it wanted to be was the major problem. Because straight up, the raid was a lot of fun. The characters, as you leveled them up, very good, right? They felt like the characters you would want to play as. Captain America felt like playing Captain America. Iron Man felt like playing Iron Man, etc. Like they were Thor. They were just so good, and so it just was very disappointing that the characters felt so good. They were so well done as far as the gameplay, but there's just nowhere to use them over the course of time, especially early on in the game. I will firmly state that I believe by the end of this game, it was actually in a really good state. There was a lot of content to do. There's a lot of things to check out. The characters were good. There was a lot of variety, a lot of things to chase, all that kind of good stuff. But unfortunately, by that point, it was just too little, too late. And that's really the major bummer for me, because I did very much enjoy the game. I had hoped that at some point it would hit a resurgence, which would have been great. But all of those problems kind of kept it back from being the thing that I think it potentially could have been. In the future, I would love to see them either embrace one thing or another. If you're going to go MMO light, if you're going to go looter shooter, you need custom characters. Don't do established characters in the future if that's the direction you want to go with a superhero game. I feel like it could work for sure, but your gear is going to have to visually improve your character. You're going to have to level them up. You're going to have to get new abilities, all that kind of good stuff. And then if you don't want to go that direction, co-op RPG would absolutely crush. As the Avengers, the X-Men, it doesn't matter. A superhero game like that will be phenomenal, and I would very much look forward to it. So, it's something that I'm really looking forward to. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League for that very reason. I think it's going to be a great team up, and you have to kind of decide what you want your game to be. Ongoing, with seasons, with weekly rotating activities, co-op RPG, once you beat it, you're good, or a single player RPG. We're seeing an Iron Man single player game. We're seeing a Wolverine single player game. That might be the future, to be honest. And I would love to have these games be co-op. I just do love playing with my friends. So I hope we get a variety like that in the future. There's been so many up and down games with the in the superhero genre recently that I just kind of want to touch on this and go over my thoughts on the rise and fall, essentially, of Marvel's Avengers. It's a bummer that it's going away. I'll miss it just like I miss Anthem, just like I miss other looter shooters that have fallen by the wayside. But that's the way the cookie crumbles, and that's just how life goes sometimes. So if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Helps me out tremendously, shows you want to see more content. I want to make this a series of what happened to various games, and I'd love to hear your feedback on that if you'd like to see this as well. My name is JoPa. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, like I said. I hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.